Why is it that every morning you crave that cup of coffee and you feel you can't function without it? Why is it that every time you open a packet of cookies, you're going to finish it and it's going to be gone before you know it? Even if you plan on saving some for later, it's not happening. It's all gone. Why is that happening? My name is Crystal Vogels. I'm the Counselor of Psychology, and in today's episode of Psychotrivia, we're going to take a look at cravings. Cravings are a garden variety of addiction. When we use the word addiction, we very quickly think of drugs or alcohol, gambling, the serious situations that really disrupt your life. Most of us, however, deal with the much lighter variant, which is cravings. And that too can lead to a habit that you really want to kick. You know you should kick, you know you shouldn't take that next cookie, you know you shouldn't take that next cigarette, but you do it anyway. The mechanics is the same, but I'm going to show you what's behind it and where the root cause of those cravings is. And it's not where you think it is. So, first of all, I'm sure that if you've ever tried to kick a habit, you'll have noticed that willpower doesn't work. You can tell yourself, no, I don't take another cookie. No, I'm saving that for later. No, I'm not going to finish the bag in one go. You do anyway. That's because ratio, our rational captain, on board of the ship inside our head, has nothing to do with the whole addictions or cravings thing. That part of the brain is not involved in this process. So logically, they don't have any kind of control over this. So where do cravings come from? Well, you might think that it's purely physical. It's specifically things like sugar or caffeine or that sort of thing, like nicotine. There is a physical addiction, right? So that must be the root cause. That's why you can't kick it. A lot of people think that they're too weak to overcome the withdrawal effects. Yeah, but the physical dependency is actually a secondary result. So what happens with a physical dependency is that when you take in a lot of a certain substance, your body will try to compensate for that. When you take in more sugar than you need, your body will compensate for that. When you take in nicotine, your body will compensate for the effect. And even not maybe compensate, but at least accommodate it. So your entire physical system is accommodating this substance that you're inhaling, eating, drinking, chewing up. It really doesn't matter how it enters your body, but it is taken into account. So your deckhand, the connection between your brains and your body, starts to regulate things in such a way that your body can handle the substance coming in. And they do that kind of automatically. The more substance comes in, the more they compensate or accommodate it. And then when you quit cold turkey, that process of compensation is still running. So you're compensating for something that isn't there. You're trying to accommodate something that isn't there. So before your body, your deckhand, realizes, hold on, that substance isn't coming in anymore, I can stop accommodating that. That takes a while. It takes a while for that new reality to set in. And while that new reality sets in, you're going through withdrawal symptoms, and they can be so physically debilitating in themselves that it's just, easier to deal with it, to just pick up the habit again, to light up another cigarette, have another cookie, because dealing with that is just too much. Which is logical, because there's a reason why there's actually some addictions where the withdrawal symptoms are so severe that you need a doctor's assistance to get through the withdrawal stages. So that's not weakness, that's just normal. But what's important is that the substance is not the basis of the craving. The withdrawal symptoms you have are not because of you taking the substance, but because of your body compensating for taking in that substance. That's not the reason that you originally started drinking coffee. It's not the reason that you originally wanted all that sugar. It's not the reason why you lit up your first cigarette, why you kept lighting them up, because they gave you a good feeling. always comes down to the fact that taking that next cookie, having the next cup of coffee, that gives us a shot of dopamine. And dopamine is the neurotransmitter that makes us feel happy and healthy and in control and yes! That's probably nothing new to you too. But what you may not realize is that dopamine does not affect the rational captain. It has very little influence on the deckhand, but it has a world of influence and makes a world of difference to the first mate. And your first mate is the center of your energy, is the center of your happiness, your emotions, your creativity, and your passion. So when you are high on dopamine, your first mate is flaming hot and they're going for it. You've got all the energy, you can take on the world. And then the dopamine wears off and you start feeling, oh, no. Maybe actually I don't know what I'm doing so well. Damn, I wanted that. I want that happy feeling again. I want to feel in control again. So you go in for another shot. And your first mate, being your source of energy, can be extremely compelling in I need that shot to function. I need that next cookie to function. I need that next cigarette, that coffee, that like on social media. I need that to function. And then your deckhand says, okay, well, if you need it to function, to survive, yeah, okay, I'll accommodate that. I'll happy to help. Because your deckhand's all about survival, physical survival. But why did your first mate originally crave that dopamine? Well, they won't remember that anymore because it was too long ago. First mates have a short horizon. So anything that you've been doing for more than 2 weeks, they can't remember anything else. That part of your brain literally does not remember things being any different. So you don't remember what originally made you feel that way. You just know that you feel hollow and empty if you don't satisfy that craving. And in that hollowness, therein lies the answer. Because what dopamine does is it gives us a sense of control. It actually gives us a sense of emotional safety. And safety means that your survival is ensured. So your whole body and brains together will do anything to ensure your survival. And if that means taking in another cookie, lighting up another cigarette, then that's what they're going to do. Even if those cigarettes, if you know that those cigarettes are not good for you in the long run, your captain knows that, your captain says that. But right now, the immediate survival of the first mate is more important. And the reason that your first mate doesn't feel that they can survive without that craving, without that external input, is because they have an inherent lack of something. They feel that they miss out on something, and that creates a kind of hollow. And that's such a nasty feeling that you want to fill that up. Your first mate wants to fill that up. And they will do that by any means possible. And yes, sugar, caffeine, that sort of thing will do that. So rather than addressing the actual problem, which is typically a lot more profound and a lot less easy to solve, it's possible, but it needs counselling. But instead of doing that, the easy fix is to give in to cravings. So that's what your first mate does, and that's why it feels so essential to your survival to have that next cookie, even though you know you're not starving. You know that you can do without cigarettes. Your captain knows. Rationally, you know this. But there is a hollow inside your first mate, inside your emotional brain, inside your heart, and that wants filling. So how do you kick a habit? If you is a habit that you really want to get rid of, how do you do that? Well, one thing that you need to be aware of when trying to kick a habit is that your first mate wants that dopamine shot. So if you take away one source of dopamine, they'll go find another. And that's why you see so very often that people who quit smoking gain weight because they start eating instead. So they shift their dopamine source. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as the new dopamine source that you have is something that you truly enjoy and that is healthy for you and your situation. Sports, running, pressing weights, going to the gym, that also releases all kinds of neurotransmitters, including dopamine. But that's not for everyone, or at least not for everyone in every stage. So find what is a good alternative for you, something that does give you a sense of satisfaction, but does not have all the drawbacks that are the reason that you want to break the habit. For example, if you have a habit of scrolling on your cell phone, scrolling social media, maybe replace that with, books. And if you don't like books, comics are fine as well. It's something you can hold, it's something you can look at. It can also give a dopamine shot, but it's a different kind of input and might reduce your anxiety if that's the reason why you want to quit that habit. So there are different ways of doing that. But the most important thing is acknowledge that there is something of a hole. There's something that you feel is missing in your life, some kind of safety that you feel is missing in your life. And that is driving the cravings. If you make the choice to address that original cause, that is when your cravings will be significantly reduced, much more manageable. Maybe you can do that by yourself. Maybe you think, oh, hold on, this is what I feel I lack, and this is what I can do to solve it. Great, go ahead, do that. Don't worry about kicking the habit. Go focus on that, and you will see that the habit you want to get rid of will dissipate by itself. And if you're not sure, find someone to talk to. Find someone who can help you address whatever it is that you feel you lack, that hole that you want filled. And that can be a therapist or a counselor or a good friend. Find them and address this, and it will make dealing with cravings that much easier. That's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.